For years, the automotive world has been arguing about one big question. Are large V8 engines still relevant? Or are they slowly disappearing in a future dominated by turbocharged V6 engines, hybrids, and electrification? Many experts believed the era of big, naturally aspirated engines was coming to an end. Smaller turbo engines promised better fuel economy, lower emissions, and impressive power numbers on paper. According to the industry narrative, the future was smaller, more complex, and more efficient. But something interesting started happening in the real world. Truck owners, fleet managers, mechanics, and engineers began noticing that those smaller, turbocharged engines didn't always perform the way the marketing suggested, especially in heavy-duty applications, when trucks were towing massive trailers, hauling equipment, or running thousands of miles under extreme conditions. The advantages of smaller turbo engines started to look less convincing, and that's exactly where Ford changed the conversation. When Ford Motor Company introduced the massive 7.3-liter V8, internally nicknamed the Godzilla engine, it wasn't just another new powertrain, it was a statement. This engine wasn't designed to chase flashy horsepower, headlines, or impress people with complicated technology. Instead, Ford engineers focused on three things that matter most to truck owners. First, massive low-end torque. Second, extreme durability. Third, mechanical simplicity. In other words, the exact qualities that heavy-duty trucks actually need. According to members of Ford's powertrain development team, the goal behind the 7.3-liter V8 was very different from most modern engines. They weren't designing an engine just for the first owner of the truck. They were designing it for the third or even the fourth owner. That philosophy alone explains why the engine has shocked so many experts. Instead of relying on turbochargers, complicated cooling systems, and extremely high operating pressures, the 7.3-liter V8 follows a surprisingly straightforward approach. It's a large displacement, naturally aspirated engine built to deliver immediate power without waiting for turbos to spool up. And that difference becomes incredibly obvious the moment the truck starts working. Whether it's pulling a heavy trailer, climbing a steep grade, or moving equipment on a construction site, the engine delivers strong torque almost instantly. No lag, no hesitation. But here's the surprising part. The real reason experts are talking about this engine isn't just the power, it's what happens after hundreds of thousands of miles. Because once mechanics and fleet operators started seeing how the 7.3 actually performs in the real world, the entire V8 debate suddenly started to change. And what they discovered might completely reshape how modern truck engines are built in the future. To understand why the 7.3-liter Godzilla V8 is surprising so many experts, you have to look at how most modern engines are built today. Over the past decade, automakers pushed aggressively towards smaller turbocharged engines. The idea was simple. Use a smaller engine, add turbochargers, increase efficiency, and still produce strong power numbers. On paper, it looked like the perfect solution. But in real-world truck use, things started to look very different. Heavy-duty trucks spend their lives towing trailers, hauling equipment, idling for long periods, and working in extreme temperatures. Under those conditions, the complexity of turbocharged engines can become a weakness. Turbochargers generate intense heat. They require complex cooling systems. They rely on high-pressure components that experience constant stress. Over time, that complexity can translate into expensive repairs and downtime. And for fleet operators, downtime is the real enemy. This is exactly the problem that the engineers at Ford Motor Company wanted to solve when developing the 7.3-liter V8. Instead of chasing the latest trends, they focused on a design philosophy that many people would call old school. The engine uses a pushrod overhead valve layout, a large displacement design, and a naturally aspirated configuration. At first glance, it almost looks like something from another era. But underneath that familiar layout is modern engineering. Advanced airflow modeling was used to improve how air moves through the cylinder heads. The combustion chambers were carefully designed for better efficiency. The engine includes modern fuel injection systems, improved oiling pathways, and advanced cooling strategies that help it survive under heavy loads. In other words, Ford didn't abandon modern technology. They used modern engineering tools to perfect a simple and proven engine design. And that decision created one major advantage. Torque, exactly where truck owners need it. Most modern engines focus heavily on peak horsepower numbers, but truck drivers rarely operate their vehicles at extremely high RPM. What they actually need is strong pulling power right above idle. That's where the 7.3-liter engine stands out. Instead of waiting for turbochargers to build boost, the engine delivers immediate throttle response. The power builds smoothly and predictably, which makes a massive difference when towing heavy trailers or pulling loads up steep grades. For fleet drivers and contractors, that instant response isn't just convenient. It makes the truck easier to control, more predictable under load, and far less stressful to operate during long workdays. But while strong torque started the conversation about the Godzilla engine, something else is what truly convinced experts that Ford may have built one of the most important truck engines of the modern era: reliability. If strong torque is what caught people's attention, reliability is what truly convinced experts that the 7.3-liter Godzilla V8 is something special. Across the truck industry, mechanics and fleet operators have started reporting a very consistent pattern. The engine simply keeps running, and the reason comes down to one key factor: simplicity. Modern turbocharged engines rely on a long list of additional components: turbochargers, intercoolers, complex cooling systems, and extremely high operating pressures all add performance. But they also add potential failure points. Every extra component introduces more heat, more stress, and more opportunities for something to go wrong. The 7.3-liter V8 takes a completely different approach. Because it's naturally aspirated, the engine doesn't rely on boost pressure to create power. There are no turbochargers spinning at extreme speeds and no intercoolers managing additional heat loads. That means fewer components operating under extreme conditions, and over time, fewer problems. According to mechanics who regularly service heavy-duty trucks, this difference becomes very noticeable after years of hard use. Engines that operate with lower internal stress tend to last longer and remain easier to maintain. That's one reason the Godzilla engine has quickly gained a reputation for durability. Some engine rebuilders have even made an interesting observation. They say the 7.3 is one of the few modern engines designed in a way that makes rebuilding realistic in the future. That may not sound exciting at first, but in the world of commercial trucks, it's extremely important. Fleet vehicles are often expected to last hundreds of thousands of miles. When an engine can be rebuilt instead of replaced, it dramatically reduces long-term operating costs. And that's exactly the kind of thinking that went into the design of the 7.3-liter V8. Engineers at Ford Motor Company didn't just focus on the first few years of ownership. They designed the engine to survive extreme workloads for a very long time. Construction companies, utility fleets, and RV owners have all started gravitating toward trucks powered by the 7.3 for the same simple reason. It just keeps working. Long idle times, heavy towing, dusty job sites, freezing winters, and scorching summers. These are the kinds of conditions that push engines to their limits. And yet the Godzilla V8 continues to deliver consistent performance. For businesses that rely on trucks every single day, that reliability can mean the difference between profit and lost time. But durability isn't the only reason experts are paying attention. There's another surprising development that nobody predicted when this engine first launched. The aftermarket world has embraced it in a massive way. One of the clearest signs that the 7.3-liter Godzilla V8 is truly special didn't come from marketing campaigns or official announcements. It came from the aftermarket world. Performance builders, engine tuners, and custom shops quickly realized that this engine has something many modern powertrains don't offer anymore: an incredibly strong foundation. The block architecture is extremely robust. The airflow potential of the cylinder heads is impressive, and most importantly, the engine can handle large amounts of torque without relying on forced induction. That combination has made the engine extremely attractive for performance builds. Across the United States, builders are already using the 7.3-liter V8 in Restomod trucks, drag racing projects, off-road machines, and even marine applications. Many performance shops say it's one of the best modern V8 platforms they've seen in years. And that kind of enthusiasm doesn't appear by accident. But performance potential isn't the only reason experts continue to talk about this engine. There's also the question of fuel economy. No one is claiming that the 7.3-liter V8 is the most fuel-efficient engine ever built. Large displacement engines rarely win efficiency contests on paper. But something interesting happens when trucks are actually working. When towing heavy loads, smaller turbocharged engines often need to run at higher RPM while maintaining boost pressure. That increases fuel consumption and heat levels. A naturally aspirated engine behaves differently. Because the 7.3 produces strong torque at lower engine speeds, it often operates closer to its optimal efficiency range during heavy workloads. Under real towing conditions, some operators report fuel economy numbers that are surprisingly competitive with smaller turbocharged engines. And that detail rarely appears in marketing brochures. What the 7.3-liter V8 really did was remind the entire industry of something simple: engineering fundamentals still matter. When Ford Motor Company released this engine, many people assumed it was simply resisting modern trends. But the reality is much more strategic. Different jobs require different tools. For passenger cars and lightweight vehicles, smaller turbo engines and electrification make perfect sense. But heavy-duty trucks still demand massive torque, mechanical durability, and predictable performance. That's exactly where engines like the 7.3-liter V8 remain essential, and that's why experts say this engine didn't just survive in the modern automotive era. It proved that big displacement, simple design, and honest engineering can still dominate when the job demands it. The 7.3-liter Godzilla didn't silence the debate with flashy numbers. It ended the debate with real trucks, real work, and engines still running strong mile after mile.